Hi, my name is Selena,
My name's Unsul.
and you're listening to Real Talk, where we talk for real about the most recent movies we've watched.
Today's episode is about Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon.
And it was a big movie. It was a long movie.
Yeah, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Did you have to pee in the middle?
No, I did not.
Same. Okay, great.
Okay, I thought you were asking me because you had to pee in the middle.
No, I intentionally dehydrated myself so that I wouldn't have to.
Oh my god. That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Initial impressions of the movie. Or, okay, I guess before we go into that, this was probably one of my most anticipated film of the year. And I suppose it did meet expectations, but I don't know if it turned out to be something that I anticipated. Like, it was very much still a Scorsese movie. Like, I don't know, maybe I imagined...
Like gangster. No,
yeah,
yeah.
Well, okay, I guess that's one way to put it. I was, like, imagining it to be, like, a different style, but it's still, like, very much his signature style, but well done.
I just came out thinking that was objectively good and I enjoyed myself, but it's nothing it's nothing I connected with on a deep cellular level that I'll actually come back to this movie as one of my favorites or anything like that. It wasn't even close to that.
That's fair. I really appreciated the history of the movie and how he tried to be faithful to the history. Like, he worked with, like, Osage leaders to get the history right from their point of view. He used their resources to train the actors to speak the language. And I thought that was extremely well executed and done. Yeah, I think it was a very... In terms of, like, a historical movie, it was quite great. But as I was telling you earlier, I watched The Killer earlier today, and that is one of my favorites of the year. And I also watched Priscilla by Sofia Coppola yesterday, and that was also another one of my most anticipated, and it didn't live up to expectations, but I had a good time. It was okay.
You got to see her. That's, like, the most important part.
I did. I saw her and Kaylee Spaney, I think that's her name, the actress who played Priscilla. Oh, Sophia was so cool. She was very laid back, and she seems like someone I would want to talk to and be friends with. She was awesome.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
All right, so back to the movie.
Right, I was gonna ask, like, do you know how there's been this quote-unquote controversy over, like, Marty telling the story from the white perspective? Like, these Native American people coming out saying he told it from the white person's perspective. But, like, isn't that obvious that he's gonna do that? And, like, he's white, and it's, like, not really an actual controversy, in my opinion.
I didn't hear about that, and I mean, I also don't quite... I don't know. I mean, I don't quite agree because he worked really closely with the indigenous community to make it their story as well. So even though, like, from a filmic perspective, it was through Leo's perspective, his character's perspective, but that doesn't make it any less, like, historically grounded in the Osage's version of the story. Like, I think Marty was pretty clear about what he wanted to emphasize with this.
Yes, and it was all about telling the story which was forgotten and untold.
Yeah.
And he did that.
Yeah, and he did that faithfully. At least he tried to. And he brought in indigenous actors to work on the movie too.
Yeah, and then some of these indigenous, like, someone who worked, one of these indigenous actors said this about the movie. So, you know, it's a bit of a slap in the face.
Do you know who said this? Like,
No, I forgot. I just read it. It was just, like, I don't even think it's a big deal. I think people are just giving voice to someone. Maybe it was a misquotation, but, like, they're trying to light up this kind of drama.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe it's not even a real controversy and people are just trying to make it one.
Maybe. I think, I think the point of the movie is, one, it is a Scorsese movie in that it's from the perspective of someone who is kind of an antagonist. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that you said kind of an antagonist. That's kind of true.
Yeah, because apart from being an antagonist, is his name Ernest, Leo's character? Yeah. He's just a straight up dumbass. That's why
it's very emphasized in the movie how just stupid he is.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense, to be interested in telling a story from that perspective. And that's quite consistent with the types of movies he makes.
Like, when I stepped out of the movie, I was just like, wait a second, that was just another gangster movie. Like, not in a bad way, but it was like, oh, I was kind of tricked into this.
I guess so, yeah. No, okay, so speaking of that, I think one thing I really liked, I mean, same with most of his other movies, was the unraveling of the character and the story, right? Like, in the beginning, you weren't quite sure if Ernest was, you know, a good person or someone who was in cahoots with the white folks who have been murdering the Osage people and whatnot. Like, I was kind of unclear in the beginning, but it becomes increasingly clear.
Yeah.
And that's, like, such a Scorsese move. That's like, what happens to most of his characters in pretty much all of his movies. Yeah, and I like that it was gradual and that it, you know, you're not quite sure in the beginning, but you learn along the way. Okay, do you want to give a quick summary?
Okay, so the film is based on a book by the same name. It's about one of many dark periods in American history. Specifically, it's about the Osage murders, where members of the Osage tribe were systematically killed off for their wealth and resources. It's somewhat of a mystery because the Osage characters don't know who is doing the killings right off the bat, but most people suspect that it is the white residents of the reservation who were responsible. Because, you know, white people, they come and ruin everything. That's kind of the joke in the movie. And true. So logistically, certain Osage individuals and families were targeted because inheritance in the Osage Nation had to be through line of descent. So white, mostly men, would marry into these families and have children, then murder their wives and sometimes even their children for the money. And in the film, we follow Bill Hale, played by Robert De Niro, and Ernest Burkhart, played by Leo DiCaprio, who kill the family of Molly Kyle one by one. She's played by Lily Gladstone, by the way, who's amazing. And Molly Kyle's family is an Osage family who owns oil head rights, which is why they're being targeted. That was messy, but there you go. I hope you get it.
That was very thorough, yeah.
Do we start with the opening sequence?
Yeah, what was the opening sequence again?
I was very, very distracted because the guy sitting next to me was breathing very loudly.
Oh gosh,
but
that's the worst.
Yeah, and then I moved and it was okay. And I got my focus back. But, like, really all I remember is that slow-mo scene with them discovering the oil and dancing under, like...
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that shot?
I remember that shot. I really liked that shot. That was...
Yeah, it's a beautiful shot.
Yeah, that was a really great way to get into the movie.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in the trailer, too, and that's also what piqued my interest. This might be jumping a little ahead, but I really loved how the opening shot and the ending shots are all Osage people performing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
the opening shot was some Osage person with, like, a knife or something and praying about...
Oh, like... yeah. So, great opening sequence. And then what happens after? How did it, like, transition into Ernest?
It was just, like, a shot of him in the bus or something.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
And then we see that he comes to visit Bill Hale in the Osage Nation for a job because he has a bad back.
I don't know. I don't remember. But one line or scene that stood out is when he's being driven by... What's the indigenous man's name? Like, the one who owned the land that Bill Hale was on.
Is it the drunk guy? The melancholic?
Yeah, the melancholic one.
Okay, that was my... Like... Them calling a depressed person a melancholic was just so funny to me.
Yeah, I guess they actually did back in the days.
Henry or something? No?
Maybe? Henry Rowan. Okay. So as Henry was driving Ernest to Bill Hale's ranch, like they're driving through the farm, and then Ernest asks him who owns all this land, and then Henry says,
Right.
"This is my land," or "This is mine," something along the lines of that. I forgot the exact words. That was also another, I think, we were talking about it earlier, like Scorsese's directorial decision to emphasize the rights of the original landowners of the Osage Reservation. It's like a very deliberate directorial choice, and also a deliberate choice in the screenplay, I think.
You know what I just realized is there weren't like long periods or dialogues that were expository, right? It was like actually explained through the action of the movie. It wasn't like one person explaining the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, through the narrative, right? A lot of showing, not telling. It was quite skillful of Scorsese. Yeah, and then, you know, after Ernest arrives at Bill Hale's ranch, farm, we quickly learn that he is a little bit of an idiot, the way he talks to his uncle.
You know when he first smiles and you see Leo's fake teeth?
Yeah.
I was so taken aback.
Yeah, I was like, this is odd. This isn't the Leo I remember.
And it does something to his face, or maybe it was an acting choice, but Leo does a De Niro face the whole movie. Like the De Niro like frown.
Yeah,
Did you notice?
yeah, I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, that was not great.
Was it not? I don't know. It seemed pretty like part of the character.
I didn't have as much of a problem with it, but it
like it was just the character.
If we get into the performances.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess so. It just felt like he was pulling a face, like that's why.
I mean, to me, it just seems like it was just earnest. Like, I didn't feel like it was particularly forced or anything.
Okay.
Seemed part and parcel of, like, the idiot. So, while I was watching the movie, I thought a lot about Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So, not that this movie is, like, biographical, but they're both about a certain period in history. And unlike Oppenheimer, the history and the story itself speaks more rather than the director who is trying to manipulate, that's a strong word, but tell history in his own way. But like with this film, it felt very organic. It felt like the performances served the history and the story rather than like a specific director's vision, if that makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm just all for kind of shitting on Oppenheimer a little bit.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah, exactly why I brought it up.
And, like, that just makes me think about the pacing in this movie compared to Oppenheimer.
Yes! Yes, let's talk about that. Oh my god. Pacing was well done in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, very well done. Especially, like, with the unraveling I was talking about earlier and how the Hale family and Ernest's little conspiratorial scheme is revealed.
Yes. This felt like a movie that was just as long as Oppenheimer, basically, thanks to the pacing, I guess. Even though it was an hour longer.
Yeah. The friend that I went to watch it with, when I told him in the end that it was, like, a little over 3 hours, he was, like, surprised because it didn't feel like 3 hours. But it made sense because so much was expressed in the movie.
That's another thing. Do you think it justifies a 3.5 hour runtime? I think it did.
I think it did, yeah, especially because it didn't feel like 3 hours. It was like time so well used.
Yeah, like, I don't know if every shot had a purpose necessarily. Yeah, I guess it did. It did. And if something was left out, I think maybe the story wouldn't...
not work the same way.
Yeah. This story deserves this much time to be properly told.
Yeah, I remember waiting for Jesse Plemons to show up.
Yeah. And Brendan Fraser.
Oh, I had no idea Brendan Fraser was going to be in the movie.
That was funny the way he showed up, though.
Yeah.
But he like just pounds the table, and he stands up, and he's like this gigantic guy. He's just yelling.
I was glad to see him show up in the movie, even though I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
Okay, so any specific shots in the film that stood out to you?
You know when De Niro's character, Bill Hale, Selena's drinking. What is that?
It's like some kind of white tea liquor
Uh-huh.
that my neighbor gave to me because her boyfriend worked on like the packaging of the alcohol bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, so free alcohol. It's pretty good. Yeah, it tastes very peachy.
What percentage?
20?
Nice. Okay, so one shot that comes to mind is, you know when Bill Hale, De Niro's character, lights his ranch or field or farm or whatever on fire for the insurance money?
Mm-hmm.
And you see this distorted image of the people putting out the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And like their silhouette, and because of the heat, it's all distorted. That shot, it shows that shot for a very long time, but I was like completely transfixed. I love that shot.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I remember that shot. That was a pretty good shot.
It's very, I know it's in other older movies, I just don't want to mess it up, so I won't name which movies.
Okay, that's a good idea. As for me, I honestly... So I watched this movie pretty late at night, and by the time it ended, I was so incredibly tired. So my memory of the movie isn't the best. So I can't think of a shot on top of my head right now that stood out particularly. I think while I was watching, I was more immersed in the narrative than the filmic and aesthetic aspects of it.
I think that's why it deserves a rewatch too, even though it's long.
Yeah, so much going on.
Yeah, I want to rewatch it before this, but
me too.
they're only showing it at nights now, so it'll end at like 2:30 a.m. and I'm not up at that time anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, good for you for fixing your sleep schedule. Congrats.
Yeah, but it's not really helping with anything.
Okay. I mean, it's helping with getting sleep, I guess.
Yeah, which doesn't help with anything.
Okay. Oh, okay. I might not have like a particular shot, but I really liked the editing of where we had Molly's voiceover summarizing some of the Osage murders, and we get shots of the murdered Osage people, and she goes over their name and how they died and how the investigation didn't continue or happen for these individuals. I really liked, like, stylistically the way that was incorporated into the movie. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't actually remember thinking this is Molly's voice.
Eventually, I realized it was Molly's voice.
Oh, I don't think I really did.
Yeah, she's like, she named the dead person. This was really early on in the movie, too, so I think it started off with... So we see... Okay, this was quite vivid. I remember thinking I want to bring this up in the podcast. It was early on in the movie. It cuts to this man on the floor foaming, and then it cuts straight to another shot where he's dead on the bed.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then it continues with, like, 2 or 3 other people. I thought that was quite powerful. I really liked that segment.
Oh! Remember when Molly's mom dies?
Yeah.
And she's, like, moving on to the afterlife? I thought that was so beautiful.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty cool. She follows these 3 tribal men or something. Spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a dream. It was cool. And then... Whenever, because in the movie, an owl represents death. So Molly's mom sees an owl flying through the window, and she's like, I'm gonna die. And then tells Molly, if you see an owl, it means we're gonna die. And later, Molly sees one. Anyway, but those shots with the owl, I loved those shots.
Oh.
The effect it had where it's just so eerie and kind of scary that this owl is flying towards the camera, just like head on.
Yeah. Oh, my friend who was sitting next to me, he had, like, a very visceral reaction to the owl appearing. I heard him, like, gasp, and was like...
Exactly.
Yeah. And
I kind of felt that.
Yeah, so, like, really good directing, too.
Yeah, definitely a master at work.
Yeah. Yeah, damn, I really need to rewatch
the
movie. So much detail.
But then, like, if I rewatch it, I'm just gonna be like, dang it, we didn't talk about this in the podcast, you know? So I don't know.
It's okay. Performances, I was just gonna say, yeah, Lily Gladstone was so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, did you know that Scorsese discovered Lily Gladstone through Kelly Reichardt's Certain Women?
Wow, no, I did not.
Yeah, and she's also in First Cow, apparently, in Kelly Reichardt's. But, like, Certain Women is how De Niro discovered her. And that's making me want to watch both movies because of Lily Gladstone.
That is also making me want to watch both movies. We should watch both movies.
We should. More Kelly Reichardt.
Yeah, and more Lily Gladstone.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
She is the star of the movie. She's amazing.
She was so good, yeah. I really loved all the scenes with her in it and how...
Yeah.
When Leo is trying to court her in the beginning, she seemed like at the same time cool and indifferent, but also you can see that under the hard exterior.
Yes.
There's like a gentleness towards Ernest that she has.
And there's a line in the movie that's like that, I think, right? I can see how soft you are underneath or something like that.
I forget who says that to who. I don't remember that line.
Saying that to Molly.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah, it's such a Scorsese move to make, like, the initial romance so gentle and romantic, but then to, like, subvert that at the end with the self-destructive man.
We're kind of going everywhere with this thing, but that's a whole other thing about whether they really did love each other and, you know, because this is kind of also a love story at the center of...
Yeah. We can go back to that after we talk about the performances, I guess.
Okay, sure. But there isn't much to say other than Lily Gladstone was amazing.
That is true. What about Robert De Niro? What is his name? Leonardo DiCaprio?
You know what? Like, you know how after Leo DiCaprio's character hears about his kid dying while he's in jail? Mm-hmm. And he just collapses and completely falls apart and is, like, crying.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a very Leo decision. I don't think a lot of actors would have chosen to break down in such a dramatic way at something like that, you know? It's just, you know, Leo.
Yeah, it seems like a very, very Leo performance.
Like, if Lily Gladstone does this very subtle thing where she somehow gets across that there's softness underneath when it looks like she has a hard exterior, Leo is just, like, the Nolan of actors in that he's just very...
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. But at the same time, because he was so, like, idiotic and indecisive throughout the movie about what he wants to do with his own family and which side he stands on, I think this, like, dramatic breakdown makes sense. It's, like, the last straw, and it puts him on the right side of things.
Yeah. True.
So I didn't have too much of an issue with it, but I can see what you're trying to say. Like, it very much is a very, like, Leo performance.
I wouldn't say I had so much of an issue with it. I like Leo's acting. It's just that I would never... Like, Lily was, you know, the great actor here, is what I'm saying.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I agree, yeah.
And then what about De Niro?
De Niro was De Niro, pretty much.
Yeah.
But also, speaking of, like, De Niro's performance, like, as we were saying earlier, it's not clear right off the bat that he is the villain of the story. And I think he does a really good job expressing himself as this white resident who is secretly scheming against the Osage people, but is able to put up a front.
I don't know if it was something that De Niro did with his performance or just the fact that he's white, but I was highly suspicious from the beginning.
Yeah. I was suspicious too. But yeah, I guess that was just, like, the nature of the story. Yeah, and it's also interesting how he also, like, spoke their language and was, really trying to integrate himself into their community, but then ends up being the one who is undoing their community.
So fucked up.
Yeah.
That guy who plays Kelsey, if you remember, he's on the stand when they go to trial, and he talks about killing his children for the money.
Yeah.
And that's just so shocking.
Yeah, that was also fucked up. It just, like, goes to show that they didn't see the indigenous people as human beings.
Yeah.
Like, people.
Yeah. Like, they're willing to have children with them, but because the child is going to be half Native American, they're like, yeah, whatever.
Speaking of, do you remember that scene where, like, I think some of the grandparents were at the table with the mixed children?
That was funny.
And the white woman was like, this one is lighter than that one. And
yeah. You'd never be able to tell that this one is Native American. This one is completely white.
Yeah. And then she was like, saying that as if the lighter one is more valuable than,
for sure,
than the darker one.
That brings me to how funny this movie was. Did you find it funny?
Yeah, it was somewhat funny, yeah.
Surprisingly, I was laughing a couple times in the movie. Well, I was the only one laughing once again, so that was a bit...
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the funny moments.
Funny but concerning at the same time.
Yeah, it's like kind of inappropriate laughter.
Yeah.
Do you remember any other parts where you laughed? Because I
was just gonna say no, I don't remember. Yeah, I think maybe some of the bantering between Ernest and Molly I laughed at. Yeah, there was this one part where Ernest pulled out a cheesy line on Molly, and then people in my theater laughed. I laughed too. Yeah, it was really early on. She said something in
and he was like, is that Indian for I'm handsome or something?
Yeah, like, is that Indian for you're a handsome devil, or I'm a handsome devil?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then she was like, ha. That was amazing.
Oh, they were so cute initially, man.
I know, yeah. That's the thing about this movie. That's why I love Scorsese. He just, like, finds a way to undo it all.
Okay, can we get to the part where we talk about whether they loved each other?
Yes, let's talk about that.
Okay, I say yes, 100%. That was the point.
I say yes, too. I say yes... And also that it was a highly complicated situation.
Yes.
Where they loved each other, but the circumstances made it so that it was a type of love that couldn't work out. Yeah. Because
Forbidden love.
What's his name? Ernest was morally corrupt, even though he was an idiot. He did partake in the killing of her entire family. And I just, even though they still love each other, I don't see how they can move forward with that.
No, but here's the thing. Molly, before, like, it all unravels, Molly knows this. Molly knows that Ernest is part of this. And still, she's with him. And I think that's how her love for him is shown. Where she kind of turns a blind eye to him literally killing her own family.
Yeah, I think part of her
Or maybe
knows,
she was just
but at the same time,
herself.
I don't think she knew 100%. I think she suspects. But she didn't know for sure.
She knew, I think she knew inside, but she wasn't willing to deal with that because that's just too much.
Yeah.
She was in denial, basically.
Yeah, probably.
And then Leo's love for her was...
Yeah, it was just kind of fucked up. He was, like, poisoning her and he was still in love with her, and does that remind you of Phantom Thread?
He was... No, don't compare this to Phantom Thread, man. That's a true love story.
What? Okay.
So romantic. Okay. But he had trouble poisoning her, and whereas someone like, what was the guy's name? Kelsey? Completely emotionless, ruthless about killing his wife and kids. So
did Leo know that it was poison initially? Or did he actually think it was, like, medicine for diabetes?
Okay, I think initially when it was just the bottle of, what's it called?
Diabetes medicine. I forgot what it's called.
No. Insulin.
Insulin,
when it just seemed to be a bottle of insulin, I don't think he suspected it. I don't think we necessarily knew even.
I suspected it right away.
Yeah, but, like, it's hard to know.
When I heard that Hale was involved, I was like, oh, it's probably something. Right. But then we don't get confirmation until later.
But then even as an audience member, I wasn't willing to believe it. Like, I didn't want to believe that Hale was poisoning this insulin. Anyway, and then after that, Hale gives him a bottle of something extra to mix with the insulin. And by that point, he obviously knew it was going to be poisoning her. Yeah. So I think that's how it worked in his head.
Yeah, I agree. I think when he was given the additional poison or additional like sleeping dose, yeah, he realized.
He even takes some of it. That's how hard he took poisoning his wife, you know? Poor guy.
Yeah. Yeah, poor guy. Wow. Damn, yeah. It really is somewhat tragic. Very, yeah, I was gonna say very Romeo and Juliet-esque, but that's not how they went down.
No.
No.
No, and you know how Molly leaves him because Molly asks him what was in the medicine, and Leo just says insulin? I think he really believed it.
That is a good question. I don't know.
Like, I think it just shows how fucking dumb he is.
Probably. But at the same time, the way he said it made it seem like he knew.
Was lying? Yeah, but also, that's how dumb he is. If he had told the truth, it would have been better than lying and saying it's insulin at that moment, don't you think?
Yeah, but then the fact that he's dumb makes it so that he lied.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whether he believed it or lied, like, he's dumb either way.
Yeah. And it's really sweet that, you know, right from the beginning, Molly knew that he was not so bright. She even tells her sister.
Yeah. But he's handsome, is what she says.
And she did adore him in the beginning, and she can do better, but, you know, that's how love works. You don't get to choose.
No.
Yeah, very bittersweet.
Oh, this is a random fun fact that I found out. Was Leo was initially meant to play Tom White, the FBI agent that Jesse Plemons plays. And the story was initially going to be centered around, like, this FBI investigation. But then they completely pivoted, knowing that the heart of the story was in Ernest and Molly's relationship, and changed the story to be this.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. So the book was focused on the FBI story.
I don't know, actually. Maybe. I would not be surprised.
That is interesting. I wonder if in telling, like, the love story between Molly and Ernest, it's also based on a true love story. Like, it's based on what actually happened between them. Like, I wonder if there's, like, truth to their experience or love.
They definitely both existed, right? Like, did you see a picture of the actual Molly and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. But I don't think I don't think it's well enough documented in history whether they really loved each other. Like, who's gonna believe that?
I would want to find out, like, damn.
But if this is the way it unraveled, maybe he did really love her.
Yeah, damn. That is true, yeah, if at the end he confessed.
Yeah. And then went to jail for life.
Damn, as he should.
Yeah. But, you know what? There was a part of me that felt bad for the guy.
Yeah, part of me also felt bad for the guy. As I said earlier, he was kind of an antagonist, but also because he was an idiot. Like, there's just some level of innocence to him that you can't deny. Like, idiocy is some sort of innocence. Yeah. Like even when he was, like, carrying out the deeds for Uncle Hale, like, it didn't seem like he knew what he was doing. He was just telling people to go kill that Osage individual. And he doesn't understand the consequences. Like,
specifically the time they bombed one of her sister's houses to oblivion, it was obvious that Ernest had no idea who was being targeted. Yeah. He had only been told by Bill to tell someone else to go kill somebody or go to somebody, and that's what he did. But he didn't know he was signing them off to kill his wife's sister. And once her house is blown up, we see him walk towards the house just completely in shock.
Yeah, I wonder...
Just so shaken, visibly shaken.
I think... I'm not sure. I think he knew that they were gonna kill the sister and her husband, but he just didn't understand what that meant, like the impact of it. And seeing their house blown up, that's when he realizes what this means.
Oh, because, like, movie-wise, as the audience, we didn't know who was being killed next, right? The movie didn't show that.
Not necessarily. I think it implied.
Okay, well, I didn't see it coming necessarily.
I think, like, it was part of the dialogue. Like, it wasn't, like, clear dialogue, but, like, in the way that they were talking about using dynamite and the confrontation between Ernest and the sister's husband. I forgot his name. Like, it was, like, low-key set up
Oh, okay,
for
yeah.
that to happen.
Yeah. That guy was... What was with that guy marrying two sisters in
Yeah,
that family?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, and then he's like... His house is bombed and he's still alive and he's like, shoot me, fucking shoot me.
Yeah,
'Cause he's
damn.
in so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool stuff.
Cool stuff, okay. What about the music? I don't remember much about the music, but do you?
I don't remember the music at all. I was just thinking about it because Miguel hated it.
Oh, really? The movie or the music?
Oh, he hated both.
Oh, really? Why? Why did he hate it?
For the music, it was apparently very repetitive. And I think I kind of vaguely remember because I was watching an Apple Music interview that Marty did, because this is an Apple movie, right?
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
And Marty's talking about how this was like the pop music back then. Like, this is the music they listened to. That was the music, the soundtrack. And it's like drums, lots of drums. I vaguely remember drums. But apparently it was like the same thing over and over again, which is what he hated, Miguel.
Oh, okay.
What did you think of the production design? Because I don't know if it's just like the oil rigs, or the time it was set in, but it immediately took me back to There Will Be Blood for a couple seconds.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's like in the same setting. I thought the production design was great. Like the farmscape was quite realistic and like awe-inspiring. Like the costumes were great for the Osage people. No, I loved the costumes.
My God.
The costumes were great.
Yeah, the
for everybody.
costumes. You know, the jacket Leo's wearing at one point when when Bill makes him sign something.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I know the scene.
But it was like a jacket that has the patterns of these like Native American shawls or whatever they're wearing, and I really want that jacket. It looked pretty cool.
So, how did you feel about how the movie ended? Okay, first the story before the like prologue. How did you feel like the story wrapped up?
Nice bow. Well, how did you feel?
There was some sense of closure. Molly leaves him, and then I think after that, it was mostly we don't see what happens, but the movie tells us with like text.
Yeah. How Ernest goes to prison for life.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Bill Hale?
Oh, he went to prison, and I think he died in prison. Or he died in some, like, old nursing home. I forgot.
And then Molly lived for a couple more years and then died of diabetes, right?
Yeah. I really loved, like, the ending where they were staging the whole story on, like, a theater stage.
Right. So it was like crude... There's this radio show later on after the Osage murders took place, but before our time, right? So it's an old radio show, and they're telling the story of the Osage murders. And apparently that's a real radio show. Like, it existed.
So, like, the performance that was happening on stage, that was the radio show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And the highlight is Marty, his cameo.
Yeah, when he appeared, I was like, oh, I know him.
I was like, yes, this is amazing.
Yeah, he
love
was,
it
like,
when he
cute on
puts himself...
stage, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that, like, little slice of creative insertion, like, because most of the movie was so conventionally shot. This was like a little bit of, you know, creativity at the end.
Yeah. And I love how he's, you know, the one to have the last word, basically, right? And he's telling the story. Mm-hmm. And he's the one who says that there was no mention of the murders in Molly's obit or something?
Obituary.
Like, yeah. Obit is short for obituary. But is that what he said?
Yeah.
Like, where was it not mentioned?
Yeah, her obituary. They were like, oh, she was buried next to her family, but nowhere was it mentioned that they were murdered. I thought it ended on a great note. Not that, you know, it was great that they passed the way they did, but just, like, creatively and in terms of the film. Like, as you said, it was neatly wrapped up.
Tied in a bow. And I guess the last thing to talk about would be Marty's new Letterboxd account.
Yes. Welcome, Marty.
The fact that I'm calling him Marty as if he's my friend.
Yeah, I feel like you think he's your friend. I don't...
I'd like to think so.
No, I think I call him Marty too. Marty Strikes
It's
Again.
just like, endearing. It's how people called Oppenheimer Oppie, like Marty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm glad he's on Letterboxd. Yeah.
Is Sally short for Selena? No.
No, but I use
What is
it
it
as
short
like a
for?
fake name sometimes. Sally is just Sally. Like,
Okay.
it's a name. Do you think Marty will actually use Letterboxd, or he just like created one, made a list, and then he's never gonna come back to it?
Right. So the point of this letterbox was to upload a bunch of old movies where he took inspiration from for this movie. So I guess it's mostly just PR.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see him actually using the app, which is sad.
Oh no, we'll see.
Can you imagine him posting a review of like, I don't know, The Killer or something, saying, never liked Fincher.
Oh, I was thinking he's like posting half-star reviews of Marvel movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but that's like cheap. And he's never gonna watch Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Speaking of Marvel, I'm completely off of it now. Like,
yeah, me too. I mean, I don't even think about it.
yeah, completely past life. Like, not even the new shows. I know Loki 2 is out now. Loki season 2.
I didn't even realize. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Any other movies that you're anticipating from the rest of the year?
Oh yeah, all the movies I wanted to catch in the Busan Film Festival. Poor Things.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
And The Killer, obviously. The Promised Land, because Mads.
Oh.
I'm hoping Past Lives comes out here at some point.
I can't believe you still haven't seen.
The Beast?
What's that?
Not that highly anticipated, but I just saw it in the Biff list and it seemed interesting,
Oh, it has like Lea Seydoux.
And George McKay.
Okay. I am looking forward to, the reviews on this aren't so great, but I still want to watch it because Barry Keoghan and Jacob Elordi are in it. Saltburn.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Ethan Hawke has a new movie coming out.
Oh, what's it called?
Leave the World Behind. But it's Netflix,
I also want to watch Napoleon.
Yes, but I heard it has a shit ton of CGI and it just looks fake.
It's fine. Ridley Scott, I guess. So will still be entertaining.
Ridley Scott is a hit or miss. Yeah, the Ethan Hawke movie has Julia Roberts, Ethan Hawke, Kevin Bacon, Mahershala Ali.
Oh, that sounds cool.
But it's on Netflix. But the director is Sam Esmail, the dude who did Mr. Robot.
Oh, wow. That's been a while. Also, don't know if you heard about this one, but Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, good reviews. And I really want to watch, this was at the New York Film Festival, Zone of Interest. I think it's about
No idea.
like Nazi Germany and like a romance set during that time period.
A24 as well.
Mm-hmm. Also, this one I'm okay about, but I still want to watch. Iron Claw. With
right. Zac Efron.
And
Sure,
what's
I'll
his
see Iron
name?
Claw.
From The Bear.
Oh, Jeremy Allen White.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah.
He's his brother in the movie.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, and the new Studio Ghibli movie. Never mind. Yeah.
Oh yeah, The Boy and the Heron, the Blue Heron.
Yeah. Is it not out over there? Because it's out here.
It's going to be out soon. It is going to be out in November.
Oh shit, something that's out here first.
Yeah, I guess.
Because it's Japanese.
Yeah, Asian movie.
I don't know that I necessarily want to watch it with Korean subs when I'm not allowed to pause it and then look up a word on Google Translate,
They are gonna release an English dubbed version.
Oh, over there, yeah, but not here.
Maybe online you can find it. And the cast for the English dub looks really good.
Oh, yeah! I remember being impressed by the English dub cast.
Yeah. Robert Pattinson, Christian Bale.
Florence Pugh, Dave Bautista again, Willem Dafoe.
Wow.
Oh, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh, really? Wow. She's back.
Someone needs to restrain her.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill. Okay. We've completely moved on from the Scorsese movie that...
We did. But I guess we've pretty much covered everything we can think of right now.
Yes. Good movie. Worth rewatching.
Yeah, very good.
Scorsese for you. Voila.
The master at work.
Well, the other master.
Okay. There can be several masters,
But the master implies one,
So that's it for now, and we'll see you next time.
For The Killer, another killer movie.
Yeah, 2 movies with the word killer in it.
Coincidence?
I think not.
Okay, bye.
Bye.